Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon, and we are during the partial solar eclipse, the exact degrees. So it is Jupiter hour from where I'm at, and Jupiter night. Jupiter is in the fourth house and ruled by the moon. Mercury is conjunct in Zendaya, and Venus 2 degrees Virgo. So ascendant ruled by Mars, midheaven ruled by Saturn. Mars, of course, 29 degrees Libra, squaring Pluto, and so on. A little bit of an energy reading. Oh, wait. Let me see that the hour is the hour. Oh, okay. So this is Venus, and that makes more sense. This is Venus hour. Venus in the fourth house, ascendant conjoining Uranus, ruled by Mercury, that is ruled by Venus. Midheaven, ruled by Saturn at 15 degrees Aquarius. Okay. What is coming up right now has a lot to do with erotic intelligence. Now, Esther Perel coined the term erotic intelligence, and I really recommend you to watch her. I don't agree with everything she says, but I think she brings up, first of all, a pioneering look into eroticism. And I'm getting a lot about this eclipse that has to do with erotic intelligence, and even the ascendant conjoining Sedna. So, when it comes to, I addressed sexual sovereignty, but when it comes to relationships, because this energy emphasizes on relationships, people pleasing in relationships, and particularly the erotic part of things. So, this is a lot of people, particularly people that grew up in societies that they may not consider as cults or even tribes. And they looked at relationships certain ways that, first of all, are not necessarily wrong. But when it comes to the eroticism, the discussions weren't there. Or they were, how should I say that, um, not really describing erotic intelligence. So I encountered several scenarios today that had to do with that, and had to do with people pleasing energies that we are letting go of. Now, let's talk about something very simple. It doesn't matter how kind, valuable, or financially stable, or potentially good spouse or whatnot the person is. Eroticism is another layer of compatibility. Okay, somebody not wanting to sleep with someone is not about that someone not being high esteemed. In any way you look at it, spiritually, financially, rank in society, philosophically, it simply means that the compatibility, the erotic compatibility, has to be there. When it's not, vaginas get yeasty, sperm gets anomalies in the sperm count, erection gets harder and harder to reach, or on more and more violent scenarios, eventually until loss of erection. Okay, while attunement can be loss of erection due to attuning to give pleasure to the partner. This is normal, it is attunement. Or suddenly losing erection can be attunement to the partner not being ready sexually. And there is no messing around with that without extreme consequences. Even when one is self-pleasuring. Now, the more a tribe society has clergy, imams, rabbinical, or magicians that are believing in slavery, seeking for the blood type of people, sometimes under the guise of healing. Believing that sex is a service that can be exchanged for money, or even if not exchanged for money, that sex is a favor or a service. The more difficult it's going to be to sexually align and erotically align to compatible relationships. And you can see how I drastically differ from Esther Perel. And the more challenges the couples that do align, or even the people that understand they are not couple, do align. Okay, they're not erotic couple, for example. People can be good friends and share eroticism with separate people. Or have, okay, think about, if you think about the set of compatibilities, one person is a circle, another is another circle. Only the part in those two circles of what they like, what they want, what they're desirous, what they're willing to do, what is okay for them to do without getting yeasty or without going into, all kinds of nervous system traumas and sperm count traumas. This is exactly the shape that contains both, not more than that, and if and only when both are willingly consensual, which is an embodied tantric sense, not a programmed sense, not an urge sense. Only that is safe, sane, and consensual, and only that is sexuality that will not entrap them into patterns. And it doesn't matter if resources, money, or energy change hands. Sexual sovereignty in spirit and in matter is imperative. It is a creative energy, and violation of that creative energy correlates with a range of experiences, a range of phenomena other than the medical phenomena, okay, yeast, psychosomatic disease, nervous system disease, PTSD. In chronic situation, it's one of the things that can cause overgrowth of cancer. Patient sovereignty is so important, therefore. But also trafficking, financial instability, disabilities, invasion, colonialism, Holocaust, 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 genocide, democide, lack of will to live, assassination. The less a society enables violation of sexual sovereignty in spirit and in matter, the less susceptible it is to all those phenomena. And the easier it is to have love, fertility, fertility, fertility in that society. In those that don't, even the doula would be trying to harvest on the birthing mother's energy and creative power, even when she is paid. To keep building her supposed legacy and contribute to the people that she has to pay protection to, also in form of energy, to be a business of a doula. I run into a lot of stories of people having difficulty to give birth. In Israel, Epstein land, where they kidnap people, where they try to coerce people to wed, where they traffic people, when they use orthodoxy to do the same things. Why do women find it difficult to give birth? Let's think together. Cults like esoterics, cult like society cannot yield happy, thriving people that don't get colonized, that don't get genocided. Now, the reason they made it a taboo to talk about sexuality in terms that are sexually sovereign is because they drain on that energy. Those who run the society basically it's a wealth block The reason they tell you that you cannot light incense in some religion is so that God forbid you won't scare away the demonic possession that they try to send to you with the rituals that they made on even the real estate. The reason they don't want to hear a woman's voice in public singing is because singing curates sexual boundaries violation, and the erotic rapport that is created during singing as life energy challenges the ability to practice sexual sovereignty and respect sexual boundaries. In stagnant orthodoxy, children are considered okay to rape infants. Now take all of that and go to simple life situations. You meet a partner. She's learning to get to know herself. He's learning to get to know himself. Issues arise. You consult with your friend. They consult with their friends. They go to a person, maybe a religious person. Who are the surroundings? The more cult-like the surroundings, the more everybody will try to either break apart or force something incredibly toxic as a union. People who practice human sacrifice, trafficking, and then work as a doula. Because they try to run a business and they need to do double the job. One for the secret societies. And then those secret societies require them to do things that are despicable to men, to women. Sex is not an act of service that can participate in exchange. This is a very important erotic intelligence that we have since Sedna. And the BIPOC stories of Sedna, of Inuit people, tell of the girl that was trafficked and she couldn't stand the touch because in that society a woman was not safe and free. She did not decide when to give birth. And even trying another tribe did not work, and so Sedna drowned, became goddess of the underworld, and they had to send a shaman to appease Sedna with the touch that she was able to receive. A touch that does not come to violate or to steal energy or creative energy. This is as old as Sedna, as old as the Inuit. Up until today, Inuit have food prices that skyrocket, even though it's so easy to solve it. It's so easy to compete upon. Think about it. I can buy something from China in the Middle East, have it sent to me in 3 weeks during war in less than a couple of dollars. Why can't Inuit have food? And the story of touch around Sedna is a story of erotic intelligence, embodiment, attunement. In its hidden light or hidden gift to the world, it's the understanding that even if somebody experienced rejection, it doesn't necessarily mean anything other than lack of kink compatibility or lack of sexual and erotic compatibility. Sometimes it is lack of mental compatibility. It is good to listen to that because that would affect the ability to be fertile, the ability to accept one another's ideas and creative endeavors that don't clash. So imagine societies that think that sex is service or that women is something they can share with one another without at all considering the woman's decision. Or boys that they can traffic. Those societies do not have the erotic intelligence to preserve their food. And they try to feed on, it's not even like predators. Okay, animals don't feed on people's life energy. When they need to eat, they kill and they eat what they kill. They don't ritually abuse their prey. Usually the only thing is they would make sure the prey is dead before they eat it. I know not all animals, not all predators, and so on. But to feed on another person's life energy, that creates genocide after genocide, nuclear holocaust. And a series of losses. People that always live on the sword. Hamas Spartan. Women that are not blooming in a society is a telltale that that society is about to go extinct. Men that are not feeling confident, radiant, and shiny is a telltale that the boys are being trafficked. Now, in societies that enable trafficking, the women are also sexually abusive. I saw a woman, probably well into her 60s, having a conversation in front of her daughter and grandchildren that can only be described as mutual sexual harassment with the grocery store counter mailman. With her daughter having to hear that, and her grandchildren. And on the other hand, our housing, our modern housing, is not built for orgasmic birth. Every orgasm, the female orgasm, every orgasm, the voicing is almost like a practice to birth a baby. So if the housing is not built to hear a woman's orgasm, and if the houses are so adjacent that it would disturb the neighbors, or if it's not safe for a woman to live alone and to have her own time with herself, not always with a community. Not every menstruating womb needs an entire community all the time. Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. Sometimes she needs to be alone or with the forest and reconnect before she can connect with the community. If it's not safe for her to do so, then our housing is not built for fertility. You know who do you never hear orgasm? Sex workers. But to talk next to the children and grandchildren in sexual harassment, blatant genital mentioning, sexual harassment, this is counting as normal. And then a mother needs to live with her grandmother and two children in one small house. How will anyone ever orgasm there? Let alone an orgasm that leads to the expression of orgasmic birthing. This is what the orgasm is about. Expansion, contraction, letting out of emotion. When couples before birthing, they sometimes have sex because it makes it easier to birth. That's the orgasm. The womb is practicing birthing. Now, when those energies are harvested against the wish, against the consent, by all kinds of, I don't know what, then this causes disaster after disaster. I can say for me, I live in Israel. Since the COVID, after the Me Too, I connected more with my sensuality and so on and so forth. The problems that the ripple effect that it created outside. Many women began to connect with their own self. Then the discussions began to happen. Oh, wait, but if I orgasm, I need to voice myself, but I have neighbors. What do I do? I had even a male friend that told me, people talk at work, ladies begin to talk with their vagina, talk with this. The men, they don't like it. I said, what do you mean they don't like it? They don't like a woman. I sit with the neighbors, two lesbian girls have sex. They have good sex, okay? The neighbor begins to shout at them to stop. None of these people are thinking about all of their depressions, all of the pills that they are taking in a pile like a drug dealer. And then that neighbor tells me, yes, there was sex worker lady, I don't mind this at all. I didn't hear a thing. I moved to another place. I see if I self-pleasure myself. Later I hear the couple also being, the woman becomes more vocal. I say, okay. Then they were having a baby. This couple had no problem having a baby. But I hear ladies telling me I have problems to have babies and so on. We're trying to give, but astrologers, numerologists, they get all this. We're trying to have a baby. There are difficulties. You're in Epstein land. All the real estate is witchcrafted against your having an orgasm. All the society around you is interwebbed and interlinked with esoterics of occultists that want to abolish women and try to play into the politics and economy of people that want to make a real estate project out of Gaza. I mean, children being kidnapped at hospitals, to blood rituals, to be trafficked. I wonder why it's difficult to conceive a baby. By the way, if you wondered about the woman with the children and the grandchildren, that was IVF. Thank you for asking. We all understand why it needed to be IVF, right? I tried to purify the place 3 years. Then apparently whoever was the realtor, they did weird rituals because it was supposed to be 4 apartments, okay? One of them to traffic people. Why? I don't know why. Maybe he was addicted to drugs. I don't know. They give them non-consensual drugs and then they do all kinds of weird rituals, ending up on camera raping a kid. When they were raped, probably there's a rabbi picture, imam picture, priest picture. And then they try to shush it down by being forced to commit more crimes that will put them in beyond lethal risk. Tenant pays the rent, pays the rent, pays the rent, raped in the apartment by or the people with the landlord or the realtor. with this MK often, MK whatever witchcraft voodoo they do. Now they can't pay the rent, they need to escape to get the fuck out. They try to chase them where they go. Person thinks, what the fuck happened? The rent is coming in as usual, what the fuck happened? What was that dumb fuckery? Epstein. Now what happened in the meantime was that the energy was harvested to create 7th of October. How was it allowed? This neighbor will talk about genitals, whatever compatibility during sex, saying, "I don't feel I do feel when next to the child and the grandchildren in the grocery store in front of everybody," but shouted the two lesbian girls having sex to stop. That lady, "Oh, I don't care about sex workers." I didn't hear a thing. Those people see a person that is being sensual, normal, glowing, and they try to traffic them and take away their energy. That person goes to work, everybody is complaining about women reconnecting with their sexual energy. Tell me, how will there not be a 7th of October? Now imagine the Palestinians. I don't care about anybody covering their head. But if they're covering their head to be modest and not inspire eroticism, first of all, it's useless. For some people find it way more sexy when a woman covers certain parts of her body. They have more room to imagine or whatnot. But secondly, where is sexual sovereignty in spirit and in matter? It's not about what a person wears or doesn't wear. They can cover their head. I know I had a Bedouin Palestinian witch that talked to me. We met, she was working at a hotel. I was spa clerk. And she said to me, "Men in my community," Bedouin she meant, "are messing with the head of the woman. They're doing witchcraft." Now she was a witch, so she had to tap into her own witchy powers to defend herself. Later, she became an educator, studying university, then could open a kindergarten. Then we met in university, and she said to me, "There was curse on you, I removed it, and I see you here also studying, and I'm very happy." She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking for anything. She remembered the conversation that she had with me, and that I could understand her, because in 2007, that dumbfuckery witchcraft was done on me in stereo, from Heidelberg Nazi folks and from the realtor, that nobody connected the dots that he was involved with some Orthodox Epstein cult. And also drug dealing, I guess. Now I'm an aromatherapist. When I was in between houses, I'm half Israeli, half Dutch. I was in Netherlands. There was a lady, security woman at the red light district. She was addicted to heroin. Sometimes she would do sex work to get for the heroin. I worked with the mint essential oil. It's connected with Archangel Michael. I didn't know that. I just got the intuition to work with mint. And so I used to put mint around all, if I have a bag, so I used to put it. And also have it in my pants where the crotch is, so it will be less stinky when we didn't have place to shower. And she smelled the mint. She said the sense of smell returned to her nostrils, and she tried several times to quit the drugs. What was standing against her was the people did not even allow her to go down to take water with sugar in the middle of the night, because these are the rules. Tell me there will not be a code orange, and I don't mean the weather. She had discipline like a military person. Cleanliness, fixing all the clothes, and so on and so forth. I look at her and I say, I see why she's a. And the first thing she said to me, don't talk to me about your problems. Everybody talks to me about the problems. I see why she's addicted to heroin, because if a person, let's say, lost a brother or lost somebody, they have grief. Nobody to support them whatsoever. Everybody comes to them with their problems, and they need to work and they need to make an income. So imagine with that mint essential oil returned the sense of smell to a heroin addict. And there were people, some of them my own teachers of aromatherapy, that didn't want me to work with mint, so I will not be aware of the witchcraft that they were forced to do to keep a business on me, that they wanted me to be their TA, so that I will not be able to grow and bloom into what I'm meant to do, which puts them in tremendous crisis after crisis. They began to lose their hair. Hair is roots, ancestry, foundations. And still I didn't think of nothing. I thought they were psychically attacked, okay? I think they gained their hair later. But they had to full stop, and whatever, to the extent they did the full stop and corrected their wrongs, they will have prosperity. To the extent that they didn't do that, the consequences. People trying to harm the voice of women or the voices of people. There are more targeted individuals in the US than individuals. Not just by MK Ultra, also by MK Often, which is basically witchcraft done on individual Americans and also not Americans. Do you think that United States will survive a nuclear holocaust? It won't. How many Americans no longer like their country because they're too busy being targeted by their own country? Americans would go to Europe suddenly their menstruation would be more regular. It's also the bad soil, it's true. The food that is processed, it's true. But it's also the witchcraft. All of this begins when people normalize sex as an act of service, interchangeable. Not even tap into their tantric embodiment. Thinking of sex as sexual urges. Sexual urges is programmed, raped people, not sexual energy. So there's a lot of people pleasing that everybody is purging. And at the other side, we have Rahu, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter squaring Chiron and Aries, but sextile in Lilith. But a trine in Lilith, I'm sorry. And also applying to square Mars. And Mars in Libra, end of Libra squaring Pluto. That will soon turn direct when Mars ingresses to Scorpio. Our currency cannot be dependent on sex trafficking of babies, of people, harvesting life energy, and so on and so forth. And if it is, the upcoming absolute collapse will no longer be controlled by those who seek to control. They will have to surrender the outcome. Those who want to become a Spartan will not have the way to fund for that. And those who think that they are more entitled to have an orgasm on the account of the next person, and that sex is some sort of a service, this is what causes birthing with sorrow rather than with joy. Life. The words traditional, religion, culture, This is who I am. That's what I'm used to. No longer. Sedna is not gonna have time for that.